That may look like Indiana Jones to you, but no, that's me. I'm back to exploring tombs, this time in Colombia, in the Andean region at Tierradentro. This is me entering a single tomb. In total, you can enter around 50 tombs across 5 sites. I'm going to take you through visiting all of these. This is what the inside of a well-decorated tomb looks like. To reach each site, there's a 20-kilometer loop hike with spectacular views and lots to see along the way. Here's my Strava detailing the hike. The link to my Strava is in the description. Here we go. I'm walking up to the Alto de Aguacate. As you can see on the right, there's a good number of clouds, but it's pretty nice looking. On the left, there's a lot of clouds. It's a little disappointing, but it adds a mystical feeling to the day. Remember, I'm going to be entering dozens of tombs that are 1,500 years old or so. It kind of makes sense to have clouds. And I've arrived at the Alto de Aguacate. There's a bunch of mounds here. And then there's the structures and more ahead. Here we can see the entire villages and everything. So let me walk you through the path for today. Here's the map. So we're currently at the Alto de Aguacate. We're gonna be going all the way down around somewhere in this area to Alto de San Andres. And then next to it is the San Andres village. And then past that is El Tablon, probably around here. And then if we continue going all the way this way, we should hit Alto del Duende and Alto de Segovia. And then we circle back down to the village. Each tomb, called a hypogea, has a unique original staircase to enter. They date from 600 to 900 AD, over 1,000 years old, and are carved in volcanic tuff. The top decorations are half moons, and the bottom are salamanders. The tombs at Alto del Aguacate are not very well preserved. I am not sure they are doing the best with conservation, because this tomb, maybe 15 years ago, looked like this image, and now it looks like this. This is what an unexcavated tomb looks like. There are still many tombs that look like this and need to be excavated. You can imagine that the ground would be lower and there would be a staircase. In some of these uncovered tombs, you can see some pretty scary creatures like this bat. I certainly recommend good shoes because the tombs are very steep and not slippery, but you need to be careful when climbing in. We can see a sun on the wall in this tomb, and in this tomb we can see other pretty interesting geometric designs. Interestingly enough, this one has 3 exits. 1, 2, 3. So now I'm descending towards San Andres. See right through the clouds. And now that we're done with Alto del Aguacate, a little aside, look at this gold mask, now in the Gold Museum in Bogota, originally found in Tierradentro. You have to imagine that many of these tombs would have had amazing objects inside, but they were looted and could be anywhere in the world or in Colombia, and usually are not identified to the site. Before we continue, just listen to the nature you can experience on this hike. So we are getting quite close to Alto de San Andres, and I hit this viewpoint. What a view. Before I was all the way up there at the Alto del Aguacate. And some beautiful flowers to look at. So there we can see the Alto de San Andres, and up there we can see the city. I think the iglesia, the church, is in the middle. And we arrive at our second site of the day, Alto de San Andres. This is probably one of the best decorated tombs in the entire complex. Look at those faces. Anthropomorphic with geometric design surrounding. Truly amazing. In this large tomb, the roof has collapsed, so you can see the structure of how these tombs were excavated in the ground. Old bridge, new bridge. Next is the non-archaeological stop in the town of San Andres de Pisimbala. This town is very small and cute. It has this mural in the front of the town and this old church that's 400 years old and has famously burnt down a few times. To the left of the church, you can see school children playing outside. And here's the inside of the church. There's some pictures of the burning and the church itself. Pretty simple, a lot of wood, simple altar, a nice church. And there's the children, a closer view. Some with brooms, some playing some kind of football, soccer. Seems like quite a nice time. Then I stopped for a snack in the local bakery / supermarket. They were cooking this cheesy bread. Look at this. Huge piece of bread, lots of cheese. There's the oven. They're producing many loaves of bread. So I had a little shopping spree in the town of San Andres. I bought bread with queso and uvas grapes. And now I'm leaving the town of San Andres to continue to my next stop. Passed some chickens on the way. Look at them, cute. And arrived at El Tablón. This site is different from the rest because it has these statues similar to those found at the archaeological site of San Agustin to the south. These are monolithic statues that represent maybe deities or protected tombs. There's many possibilities for what they could have done, but every one is unique. They're really interesting to look at. Next to this site, you can see what looked like maybe was a tomb at one point, but there was clear evidence of looting in this area, and so now there are no tombs left. Maybe there are still some that could be excavated. And across the way, we can actually see where I was earlier in that morning. There's Alto del Aguacate. Caught some turkeys on the way to the next site. And here's the fourth of the 5 sites, Alto del Duende. You can see the geometric designs in this tomb, along with the faces on the columns, similar to that we've seen in other tombs. This one was interesting because there's a clear opening above the tomb. The shape of this tomb looks exactly like a residential house of the time, so it is thought that the tombs may be represented residential houses, kind of like a house for the dead. You can see the shape is kind of like a triangular prism on the top with the angled roof and then columns leading up to the roof and then an open space in the middle. Bodies would generally be cremated and placed in funerary urns and then placed in holes in the ground like these. This one, while not too well preserved, has a nice amount of color. You can see the red pigments. And there's the hole in the ground where you could imagine a funerary urn with cremated remains would be. And then I was on my way to the 5th and final site with this amazing view over the valley. And finally I reached Alto de Segovia. This site is the most famous because the tombs are the most well decorated and really the most amazing of them all. I saved the best for last. So made it to the final site, Alto de Segovia. It's in this really nice mound. You'll notice that with how remote this site is, I really haven't seen any other tourists the entire day. But at this final site, I did encounter this huge group of school children from a nearby village. So let's head down to the final tombs of the day. There were a whole bunch at this site, so I'm only going to show you the ones that I think are significant and have something worth seeing. Again, you can see the steepness of the path. I'm pretty much jumping to get down. On the way out, it's a climb. And this one has a pretty simple inside, pretty standard with these holes in the ground that would have held these urns. This tomb is the only one with the urns preserved, even with some of the ashes in situ in the place where they were originally found. This tomb probably has the most impressive entrance of all. It is this long winding staircase, a little scary to go down, but just keep your weight on one side and you keep going all the way down. And then there's a staircase to reach the final steps towards the actual tomb. So here we go, and voila, there's the tomb. Not so impressive, but there are some unique designs that we haven't seen in any of the other tombs. So here's another video. You can see these X's kind of on the walls where we would have seen faces in other tombs, and just, you know, more unusual shapes than the faces that we've seen in every. Here's another tomb with those face columns. The faces really do just look a little creepy, but very interesting. A little bit of anthropomorphic, maybe there's some animal in them mixed with a human face. And you can also see all of the geometric patterns surrounding it, like so well decorated, so well preserved. You got to remember that paintings only are preserved, especially in this environment, when they are underground and covered, because in other environments, like in ancient Greece, for example, or ancient Rome, there's so little painting preserved because any air that gets to it, any sunlight, will make it disappear. While I'm going through these tombs, I should also mention that the people that let you into these tombs, these are all covered, are just kind of regular security guard guys that work at the site, and they are some of the nicest people around. You can ask them questions, you know, they only speak Spanish, of course. You can ask them for help, you can just have a nice conversation. They're really interesting people. They all are from the village of San Andres, and so they have some interesting knowledge about Colombia and about the indigenous life there. And now, as you see more and more of the tombs from this site, a little bit about how the burials worked in this culture. So first, everyone would be buried in a simple shaft tomb. That basically means the body whole would be put into a shaft, just a hole in the ground, and covered with dirt. But it is thought that for special people, these bodies would then, at a later date, be exhumed, actually taken out of the ground and reburied in these monumental tombs like the ones we are seeing, either in a small shaft, you know, just the body whole, or cremated and put into urns as we saw earlier. Another thing to note is that most of the tombs have some sort of information outside on a board, but some of the tombs have nothing, and sometimes the information outside is not that good. So I got most of the information that I have from a PDF that I found online. This is a UNESCO site, so of course there's a lot of information on it, and the link to the PDF is in my description of the video. This final tomb that I'm showing you is quite interesting because the designs are much different from the other tombs. You see these triangles, these circles. What the meaning is kind of unknown, but it is interesting to see the diversity of the art. Which brings me to those kids that I saw earlier. They are from the Paez tribe, also known as Nasa, and they really wanted to chat with me. These kids were awesome. They're all bilingual in their indigenous language and Spanish, and we had a great chat in Spanish, even though I don't speak Spanish that well. It's quite possible that I was the first foreigner they've ever talked to. So much so that some of them were surprised that I don't speak their indigenous language, but some of them were smart enough to even speak really simple Spanish to me so that I would understand. We talked about how to say their names in the English language, how much my phone costs, which is very common amongst people from other countries, and the Mexican singer Peso Pluma, who they are huge fans of. In the end, I asked if we could take a video as a group, and this is the result of that.
Hola.
And that wraps up my time at Tierradentro. There's also a museum with a few interesting artifacts at the end or beginning of this hike. I stayed in this wonderful guest house that truly looks out of the movie Encanto. The lady that runs it is amazing, and it's super cheap. And you also get this passport for visiting Tierradentro. Those are the stamps that I got at each site, given by the security guards. And that's a wrap on a truly unbelievable place. This is me leaving on a truck. To get to and from Tierradentro, you can go from either Popayan, which is a pretty big city, or from La Plata, which is a smaller city but much closer. Subscribe for more. You can expect another video about San Agustin, these amazing statues that are to the south of Tierradentro. Different, but similarly spectacular.